This feels like an awful lot of things to talk about in one video. This is Ripple. She's trying to drink my tea. No, you may not. I know what I've called it. I called it Fool for Thought because I love a good pun. Apparently I can't work to a brief even when I invented the brief. No, I haven't done death yet. I'm going to move on to decks. I'm going to have my tea, then I'm going to move on to decks. Let's zoom. Meow. Hello everybody, it's Sylvie. Welcome or welcome back to Tarot Magpie. I hope you are doing all kinds of good today. I'm just chatting to you today. I haven't done any kind of update, favorites, check-in, what I've been up to in my practice, you know, that kind of video. I haven't done one of those in about 6 months. I think the last one I did was wrapping up Libra season. And I just feel like chatting today. The sun is out. I'm in a very good mood. I've been on YouTube just over a year. I did my Q&A happy first birthday Tarot Magpie last week. So I just feel like doing a bit of a chatty check-in. So that's the vibes. I'm gonna talk at you, tell you what I've been up to, things I've been up to on various corners of the internet, art I've been making, books I've been reading, decks I've been using, deck pairs I've been enjoying. So yeah, settle in, grab a cup of tea or beverage of your choice. Let's chat. So to start us off, like I said, it's been about 6 months since I did a favorites video. I don't quite remember why I never did Scorpio, and then I was out of the habit, and then life got really busy. It's been all go so far this year. It's all good stuff, but it's kind of hectic. I'm tired. In terms of my real life, outside of YouTube, outside of this rectangle, I'm preparing to move up to Scotland to live with my partner in the hopefully not too distant future, but it's all a bit up in the air. Moving is stressful. I hate it. It's one of my least favorite things. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. And other things are happening. It's all good. It's all tiring. In more interesting and relevant to Tarot Magpie updates in the last 6 months. Like I said, I've been on YouTube a year now and have other stuff going on the internet. I feel like I'm doing a little like plugging all my various social medias and things, so bear with me. I am properly on Instagram. I'm actually active over there now, so you can go follow me over there for I do a lot of my like daily pulls in my stories and just pretty decks that I'm enjoying. You know, it's Instagram, it's a visual platform, but I like being over there now. That's a thing. I have a website and a blog, tarotmagpie.com. I started a blog series that I've been wanting to start forever, and originally I kind of wanted it to be a video series, but as much as I like to talk, I think it would have been a bit long and a bit ultimately incoherent in video format because I write better than I speak. I'm not the world's most eloquent speaker. We all know this. And so I've got a bit of a blog series going with my trouble cards. When I first started reading the tarot, first started learning the cards, there were of course various cards that I found trickier to understand than others. And I've kind of long been wanting to just like chat through why I struggled with them, how I got my head around them, all that kind of thing. So I've started that on the blog. The first post is about the 4 aces and how I like differentiate between the energies of the 4 aces, because I think a lot of keywords is just like new beginnings, new opportunities, and like that's all very well and good, but what is the difference between the 4 of them? So I have a whole blog post about that. I'm not sure what cards I'm doing next, but I have a lot of plans and a lot of thoughts. As you know, I'm here to say things. I have a lot of thoughts, and so the blog is happening, and I have sat in the drafts, I just haven't published it yet. I've got a response to the occult tea tag that's been going around, which I'm doing the nervous thing because I'm not really online about witchcraft. I'm just online about tarot. I don't know, I feel like I'm jumping into a conversation that isn't really involving me, which I think I just need to get over and post it. Yes, it's also a really long, it's like a full essay. I think it's about 3,500 words. It's a long tag. To be fair, it's a long tag. There's a lot of questions. I'm never one for quick answers. So that is going up at some point. It might be up by the time you see this video actually. I might challenge myself to just get over myself and post that this evening, and then it will already be up and I can link it in the description if you want to go have a gander. But yeah, so that's cool. I'm liking writing stuff. I would, you know, I'd like it if you go check that out. If you want to hear more from me specifically, I'm really excited about this. I don't know what I've called it. I know what I've called it. I called it Fool for Thought because I love a good pun. I'm really excited about that series of blog posts that I want to write. So I would appreciate it if you go check it out. And hopefully it will also be useful for people who are learning the tarot, because it is the kind of issues I had when I was learning the tarot and how I've got past them. That's there. I also have an Etsy since I last posted one of these updates, which I've mentioned here and there in videos, but I guess this is the closest to an official announcement that we're getting. I've got not a lot on there, I'm going to be realistic, but I've got a couple of reading offerings and then my cute little zine that I made. Do I have it nearby? Yes. Okay, this is actually the like OG that I made and not my printed out one with the spreads in them, but I made a cute little daily spread zine, and that is a digital download. It has text in it. The version you can buy does in fact have text in it of my little 3-card like everyday kind of spreads when you just want to do like a little check-in or something. I'll leave that there because she's cute. I have so many ideas for further iterations of this. You can see I perhaps very ambitiously labelled it Tarozine 01. So I have plans. There's going to be more of them. That's very exciting to me because I really enjoyed making this. I like to make stuff. So that's happening and that's really cool. I've had some really lovely feedback on it, which has just made me so happy and brought me so much joy. So if you are somebody who has bought this, if you're somebody who supported me in any way, I'm gonna get mushy for a minute because I've been on Tarot Chi for a year and I'm just feeling extremely happy and glad to be here and to have done what I've done and kind of met people in the way that you can meet people online and make friends with people, you know, virtually met people, and it's all really great and I love it a lot, and I'm very grateful for everyone who has watched, subscribed, commented, had a chat with me, supported me, all that good stuff. I'm super extra grateful for anyone who's left like a nice review about my tarot zine. I have screenshotted those. I have them in a little folder in my phone, and when I feel sad and useless, I go to that little folder on my phone and look at the nice things that people have said to me. Is that pathetic? Maybe, but hey, we're all friends here. So yeah, that's very cool. I have the website, I have lots of blog post ideas, I have lots of ideas for things to share on Etsy, and I'm also making art stuff. This is a much longer project. Oh, do I want to show you? What do I want to show you? So we're gonna look at this blank notebook and while I talk to myself. I swear I've been talking for what feels like fucking ages about wanting to make an oracle deck. Like I say, I like to make things. And I've started actually putting stuff down for the oracle deck that I want to make, and it's transformed into not what I had been planning, because once I sat down to try and make what I've been planning, like I have a it's a bit of a spreadsheet situation with like titles and keywords and little bits of like description and stuff that has, you know, come to me, and I can't make anything directly to that. Apparently I can't work to a brief even when I invented the brief. Anyway, I am making some stuff. So this I've shared on Instagram already, and this I don't think I have. Collaboration of distortions. I loved this until whatever happened here with this like aggressive biro smudging, and it's genuinely kind of broken my heart a little bit because this soul dialogue, and I loved this. So I'm upset and I'm not sure what to do about it. Transform, unafraid of in-betweenness, metamorphosis. It's like my favorite keyword, you know I had to include it. And emotion archive. And this is like extremely personal. So this at the moment, I'm just kind of making stuff that I would want to see in an oracle deck. And I don't know if anyone else will care or be potentially interested. So I feel like, why would I share this when it's just for me? And it is for me, but this is also my channel, so I can show you what I want. And this one is like especially personal in the sense that it reminds me of my mum. So I don't know if visually, like if it makes sense to anybody else or if it would make sense to anybody else, but it makes sense to me. And like I say, this is my little untitled oracle project. And that is what I've got so far. I'm really enjoying making it. I'm really enjoying the process. And I personally can't wait to have this as a deck. So I guess I'll keep you updated with if anybody is interested, I will keep you updated with the progress of this. I don't know, it's one of those things where I'm like, I like this, I made it for me. It's either good or it's complete trash to other people. that is that project in progress. So I have lots of like stuff and things and ideas, and I'm excited about all of it. And I am extremely happy to have been here for a year. You know, I'm just real pleased. Like, the sun is out. I've been on TarotTube for a year. I have loads of ideas. I feel really creative. I feel like people care about what I put out on the internet, which sounds like one of those things you're not supposed to admit, but like, let's be realistic. We wouldn't be putting stuff on the internet if we didn't want anybody to look at it. So I'm just feeling real good. I'm feeling real good. I'm feeling real like grateful and mushy for all the various kinds of support I've had for various endeavors and things I've put out there. So I promise that's that. That is Sentimental Sylvie is done. And I'm going to talk to you about some books and some tarot decks, which is probably what you're here for. So I'm going to move these out of the way. Okay, before I get started showing you books and decks, this obviously isn't everything I've worked with or enjoyed in the 6 months since I did an update last. It's just stuff that has been in the top of my brain probably since the new year, realistically. So first up, Radical Tarot by Charlie Claire Burgess. No surprises, this isn't going anywhere. I think I got up to Temperance. No, I haven't done Death yet. Okay, I'm working my way through the Major Arcana section because each chapter is like an essay. So I'm reading this like cover to cover. And then the minors I'm kind of dipping into as and when I'm doing readings and I want to see what they have to say. I love this. Like I say, I'm a massive fan of just Charlie Claire Burgess in general. I think their perspective on the tarot is really cool. It's what we need and what I want to see. I would love to see more of this kind of approach to tarot, and specifically with like queering the cards. And Charlie Claire Burgess's big thing is beyond the binaries, and that's a lot of what is in this book. And the gender binary, yes, but also just a lot of the other binaries that are present in the tarot, and kind of breaking those down and examining what they have meant in the past and what they mean like socially and culturally now, and then how we can rework those on an individual level to suit our readings, and also how we can kind of reframe them on a broader level to liberate our practice and create the future. It's really good, and I've gushed about this before, so this is still very much in rotation. Okay, I've mentioned this briefly once, I think. This doesn't fit in frame. This is Tarot for Transformation. This is the Major Arcana one, and it's by Dreya Blume, published under her previous name if you want to go and look it up. But this is a massive book of, it's not even just journaling prompts. Calling it journaling prompts would be doing it a bit of a disservice. Somewhere we'll get to the contents. She loves a quote. Right. Each of the Major Arcana cards has been given like a theme, and then there's a chapter of journaling prompts, exercises, quotes, a little bit of exploration of some of these ideas. I've been working through this a little bit sporadically. I've not been going from the Fool to the World, although of course you could, but I've just been addressing, let's not spill the tea, I've been addressing. I've been picking themes based on what feels relevant and what I want to address in my journaling. 2024 is the year I'm actually getting into journaling properly. This is just fabulous as a resource to like kind of help me get going on any given day. Because one of the things that is in my way about journaling is I'm like, what do I write about though? And I know that there are no rules and you can write about whatever you like, and you can do that morning pages thing where you just, I don't know what to write for like 3 pages, but that doesn't float my boat. So I like this as some things to tackle, kind of like a resource for journaling, as well as guide through the Major Arcana, and also the Major Arcana as a guide through these various themes. Like it's done very effectively in that way. Like you don't need to know tarot to use this, but if you do know tarot and you are familiar with the archetypes, and actually I think it pairs quite nicely with Radical Tarot, because the major section of Radical Tarot is all about deconstructing these archetypes and examining where they come from, what they mean, what they can mean to us now in the present, and how we can kind of reframe them to better suit our purposes. So just a very good combo. Another workbook that I don't know what that is. Another workbook that I am slowly working my way through. This is Astrology for Yourself by Douglas Bloch and Demetra George. This is an astrology workbook, and I am very slowly making my way through this, very, very slowly, but it's really interesting. I like all of the exercises. This is me making a plea or a request for resources. I would really love to find somewhere, something to kind of give me some like exercises to do with my birth chart, or like places to look for things, because there are so many moving parts of just like a birth chart, the planets and the signs and the houses and the way those can all interact differently. And so like something I did the other day was I was looking at my midheaven. I was looking at my 10th house, which is also where my midheaven is. Somebody say something along the lines of, look at the ruler of your midheaven house and see what sign that planet is in. And then that can give you a clue as to what kind of career you'd be best suited to. So I also did a whole blog post about this. I swear I'm not just here to like promote my own stuff, but my 10th house and my midheaven are Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, which is sitting in the 3rd house, which is where Mercury is very happy, and also in Scorpio, which is interesting. And then that sent me down a whole tangent of like, well, I've got a lot of other stuff sitting in the 3rd house, and Mercury is my chart ruler, and it's all kind of a big deal. That was really interesting, that little like exercise that I went down and little bits and pieces to research. I don't really know how to articulate what I want because I don't yet know enough about astrology. I just want like little activities or little, not experiments, but you know, little thoughts to go down, little trains of thought to follow around my birth chart to help me understand it more and also understand what it means like in, I don't know about in practice, but in reality, beyond just like, here's what the signs mean, here's what the houses mean, here's what the planets mean. I'm like, no, but I want to look at the way it all like interacts with itself, which seems to be difficult for me to find, either because I don't know the correct like terminology to be using for what I want, or because it doesn't really exist, which I find hard to believe. Anyhow, that's not what this is. This is just how to understand your birth chart. Maybe that is what this is in later bits. Astrological timing and aspects. Maybe this is what I want. I just have to kind of get there. But if you have suggestions, let me know. Speaking of astrology, I have also been reading Astrology for Mystics by Tayanna McQuillar. This is about the water houses, so the 4th, 8th, 12th houses in the birth chart, and what it's, you know, Libra in the 4th house, and then it's also the moon in the 4th, 8th, 12th house, all the planets. It's interesting. I'm really enjoying it. I have questions about the introduction. I really wish there was a bibliography because there's a couple statements that gave me big question marks, but the astrology content seems really solid. I'm really enjoying it. Some of it has been spookily spot on. This is really interesting to me because I have a lot of placements in water signs in my birth chart, but they don't fall in the 4, 8, 12 houses. Those are actually fire signs in my chart and they're completely empty. So only half of this book is useful to me, but it's still really interesting. And it's been really interesting to see. I feel like I don't know a lot about fire in respects to me and my birth chart because nothing sits in a fire sign in my birth chart. That's never been a reason to look into the fire signs for me. So it's just interesting to see more about the fire signs through this like watery perspective, which there is a lot of in my chart. And it's very cool. It's very cool. I'm really enjoying it. So that is another thing I'm reading at the moment. I'm going to move on to decks. I'm going to have my tea, then I'm going to move on to decks. Where am I going to start? I'm going to start with my monthly, and I'll talk about last month's as well because I did an unboxing. Last month, well, Pisces season, I used the Tarot of Tales, my daily draw in my monthly book, and I have a whole video on setting this up. My daily draw is more of a study practice. I just pull a card and I'm not taking it to mean I'm going to have a 5 of Cups day. I'm just taking it to mean I look at the 5 of Cups entry in the guidebook and get to know the deck over the course of a month that way. I don't know how I feel about this deck, having worked with it for a month or so during Pisces season. I really don't know how I feel. And the fact that I don't know is kind of frustrating. It's like half really, really good positive things and then half just completely not my thing. Like the majors I thought were really cool in this deck. I thought the major arcana was really cool. Like, I really love this Empress because she's working. She's like actively cultivating. She's not such a passive depiction. The minors I was iffy on. The courts I don't like, but that's nothing new. Some of the cards just really threw me, and overall, looking at the guidebook as well, this deck feels like it is skewing towards the positive. Like the 10 of Wands, for instance, was all good vibes and coming together for the collective, and I'm like, that is not the interpretation of the 10 of Wands that I've ever come across before. Like, it's an interesting one. So I don't know if it will stay in my collection, because personally, for my readings for myself, I can't be doing that. I can't be doing good vibes only. I refuse. But the artwork is so sweet, and I really like some of the guidebook entries. Like, I think they're interesting. Like, I don't have the book with me, but the way the guidebook entries are laid out is like if you were reading any given card in the past, present, or future position, and then I think it's from within and from above, and I forget exactly what they're supposed to mean, but it's laid out in a really interesting way, and I like comparing or just seeing how the same card is read through those different 5 positions, which is really interesting, especially when their general interpretation of the card matches my general interpretation of the card. These are going the wrong way, right? The geese should be pointing the way the V is pointing, and it bothers me. Anyhow, so yeah, I don't know. I'm glad I worked with it. I'm still glad I bought this, because this was an impulse buy for like a tenner. And it's one I've wanted before and then went back and forth on, and then I was like, it's £10, that's like 2 coffees. And I don't regret buying it, and I do like a lot of the interpretations in the guidebook entries. But I think maybe it's just not for me for right now. Maybe it will have its time at a later point in the year. One of the reasons I would really like to decide if I'm keeping this is because I want to trim it, but I don't want to trim it if I'm not keeping it, because I think if I just cut these black borders off the front and the back, it would be obviously off the front and the back. I cannot trim only the front side of a deck. I think it would be a much easier to handle size, and I think it would still look like we don't need this double border. You know what I mean? Anyhow, but I'm not going to trim it if I don't know that I'm keeping it, but its size is discouraging me from using it. So it's a little bit of a swings and roundabouts, but hey. And then this current month that we are in Aries season, I am reading with the Bonefire Tarot, which I have cleverly buried under everything else on my desk. Here we go, Bonefire Tarot, 2nd edition. I have a walkthrough up of this as well, actually. I tried my best to match the paint colours to, like, it matches this King of Cups very well, actually. Like the blues and the strong oranges. Anyhow, I'm loving this deck. I'm loving this deck so much. The artwork, stunning, beautiful. Cannot be denied. But the guidebook is also really cool. And I've spoken about this before. When did I feature this guidebook? It was the Academy. I just had the 4 of Swords on top, right? And then I opened the book at the 4 of Swords. Fun. It was the Academy Awards tag. Academy Awards Tarot tag. I spoke about this guidebook because I think this guidebook is really cool, because you get a full write-up on each card, which is nice, and like you get your keywords, then you get the Bonefire Says, which is, I guess, this deck's interpretation, or this author through this deck, their interpretation of each card. And then there's also these symbols, which at the back there's a glossary of symbols and then what they mean. So like if there's a balloon in a card, it's a container for spirit to lighten your load, unbearable lightness of being. Like it's just these extra little symbols, and it's like extra things that you can look up in the cards, and it's really cool. And the other thing that I'm really enjoying about this deck is that it skews kind of negative, which, especially in contrast to the Tarot of Tales, which for sure skewed positive, this skews kind of negative, and I really like it. Like, what was I reading that I was surprised skewed kind of negative? Like the Knight of Cups was kind of negative, and the Two of Cups was kind of negative. Like, it wasn't a negative card, but there was a lot more about the warnings of the Two of Cups than you would usually see in a guidebook. And the same with the Knight of Cups. It was a lot more of the warning of the Knight of Cups. Like, might suggest you are depending too much on a more practical and active person in your life. letting material concerns slide out of your control can lead to unbalanced partnerships. You need to wake up before it is too late. Are you giving your power away for an easy life? Like, that's not how I've seen the Knight of Cups framed before. And I definitely need to just go through and read through all the court cards in this book and see how she has portrayed them. I mentioned I had some beef with the court card images in the Tower of Tails, and that was because, and a lot of decks do this, it felt copy pasted from the page to the king of each suit. It wasn't visually copy pasted, but I felt in terms of energy and what it represented, it was copy pasted because it was just a figure in the similar environment. Whereas the energies in all of these court cards, I probably won't come across one now, but I like the depictions of the court cards. Like, here's our King of Swords, it's our Knight of Coins. Okay, Page, I don't know where the Knight is at, but like, here's our Page, Queen, and King of Swords. And despite the chaotic imagery, like, they look very different, they look very distinct. I'm not gonna mistake one for the other, because one of my pet peeves with court cards in any deck is when they look copy paste and the only way you can tell the difference between them without seeing the titles is because of, like, oh, the older man is the king and the one on the horse is the knight. If that's the only thing, like, visually separating them, it bothers me. It feels like a waste of, like, it almost feels like a waste of cards. Like, you could just write KN sword and get the same effect. Anyhow, I have beef with court cards in general. They were the hardest thing for me to learn, which I don't think is uncommon, but I definitely want to have a look through. Oh, look, there's the King of Wands. I definitely want to have a look through and just see how she characterizes all of the court cards, because I think that could be really interesting just based on the general vibes I've got from this guidebook so far. I'm very much loving this. I'm really enjoying this deck. I think it's beautiful. I haven't actually done a reading with it yet. I did a couple readings earlier in the life of this deck in my collection. What a weird way of putting that. I got this back in October or November last year, and I think I did a couple readings with it for myself, nothing too serious, at the back end of last year, and then I haven't really picked it up because I knew I was going to use it for Aries season, so I did that thing where I, like, avoided picking it up because I knew I was going to be using it. But I am really looking forward again to, like, diving in, doing some bigger readings with this now that I feel I'm getting to know it, because I just think it's such a cool deck. Like, I already thought it was cool from the artwork, but I'm just loving it the more I read the guidebook. So that was a very rambly, long explanation for positive opinions on the Bonefire. But so that is the updates of my, because let's see, Aries season, Pisces season I talked about, Aquarius season I used the Navigators Tarot of the Mystic Sea, which I feel like I've mentioned. This came up in a video when I did a week in my tarot journal. I used the Herbcrafters in Capricorn season, loved it, loved the experience of using the Herbcrafters. I was feeling a little bit intimidated by the deck because it just felt very out of my comfort zone, out of my knowledge base. Like, I don't really know anything about plants, and I always forget where the creators are specifically from. The plants are local to them. I think it's somewhere in South America. I forget exactly where, but the plants are local to them and their, like, landscape, and so I felt a bit like it'll be harder to, like, understand if it's something I can't relate to my physical environment. It'll feel like an extra step removed, but I was wrong. I love it. The artwork is stunning. The guidebook is brilliant. I love this deck. I now want to get it out again. Sagittarius season, Voyager Tarot. I feel like I've talked about this as well. I really enjoyed using the Voyager Tarot. I've definitely spoken about this, right? Because I've got the guidebook out and talked about it. But yes, enjoyed that. And then in Scorpio season, I was using the Tarot of Vampyres, which I fell in love with. Like, I've just had really good experiences. The Navigators Tarot of the Mystic Sea was, like, interesting. The guidebook is for such a tiny guidebook, it's so all over the place. But I enjoyed it and I like the deck. Like I say, Tower of Tails, unsure about her, and then absolutely obsessed with the Bonefire, really enjoying it. So that's my like quick little recap of the last 6 months of daily tarot pulls. And I'm now going to talk about some other decks that I've been using. So I'm not going to show you my daily readings in my tarot journal because that's a bit more personal, but I am going to briefly mention what I've been doing for the last few weeks, which is a daily pull for myself that is a proper reading, not this like study practice in my monthlies. And I've been using the Tao 365 book of like daily meditations, reading one a day, and then formulating a tarot question or two based on the daily meditation for the day. And this is a practice that I totally copied from Sasha, who made a whole video. I will link that below. I think I've talked about it before, but I will link her video below again because, like I say, completely unoriginal idea. I just copied what she's doing and I'm really enjoying it. It's deep enough to be satisfying in terms of a daily reading. Like, as much as I like my little easy 3-card what are the vibes today spreads, I've been craving something a little bit deeper and a little bit more, I don't want to say meaningful because I don't want to imply that my other readings are meaningless, but just a little bit deeper and a little bit more introspective maybe. So I've been enjoying doing that because it goes a little bit deeper. It doesn't take too much time or energy of a morning. It's good stuff. And I'm going to show you some pairs that I've been working with and then just another couple of decks that I am kind of obsessed with right now. And then we will wrap up this extremely long video. Okay, I swear I just am a massive Sasha fangirl because this is her deck, When Olga Speaks, which is not currently available but hopefully is going to be on Kickstarter at some point again and will be available, which is the Oracle deck that I've been using with the Raven's Dream Tarot by MJ Cullinane. This is also indie and I'm not sure if this is currently available either, so apologies if I'm just showing off things that you can't get, but this is a pairing that I've been enjoying. I used this for a week or two and I just ended up really liking how they look together and how they read together. This is a fabulous Oracle deck anyway. Invoke with the 7 of Cups, Surrender, King of Swords, and the dreaminess of the Raven's Dream Tarot and the kind of surreal situations that are presented. They really lend themselves well to working with any Oracle deck, to be honest. This tarot is not a tarot that at least I take very literally. I never take tarot very literally. That's not really my style. I don't like decks that look too straightforward, but this is not a deck to take super literally, and so it works with a lot of different Oracle decks, but I think really works with When Olga Speaks. Oh, like those colours, but the Devil and Celebrate, like, isn't that cool? Isn't that interesting? 8 of Swords and Ease, very much not an easy card. Like, so much contrast there. But 9 of Cups and Soul Ties. It's beautiful. Beautiful combination of two beautiful decks that I kind of paired at random because it isn't what I would have thought to pair, but I ended up really loving it. And if you have these two decks in your collection, I would suggest giving them a go. It also really pleases me that they are the same size, more or less. Yeah, exactly, dead on. The oversized MJ Cullinanes are like not my favorite, but that's just like a fun extra. It's fun if you're me. Okay, this is the pairing I'm using at the moment actually. This is the Mary L Tarot and the Tantric Dakini Oracle, which is a hell of a combo. And I'm not really sure what possessed me to pair these two because they're both kind of a lot. I do not at all regret it. Like, isn't that good? 6 of Swords and then the Pillar of Fire and then this 6 of Swords with the Archangel somebody. Like, it's just, they're just so good together. I do have to sit with these for like a hot minute. This is definitely not a quick and easy pairing. It gives me an excuse to read through her guidebook. I think I've said this before about the Mary L Tarot, that it doesn't matter how many times I look at a card or I read the guidebook entry, I feel like I will never know. I will never know what's going on. I will never know what the Mary L is talking about. I will never understand it fully. And I'm okay with that. I think that is more than fine. And I am more than happy to just always be exploring and trying to understand the Mary L. And the Tantric Dakini is a little bit newer to me. I haven't played with this a whole lot. partly because the cardstock is so crap. Like, it's so thin. It's like papery thin. It's not cardstock. It's like not proper cardstock with a core. It is just thin cardboard. So I think that is part of the reason that I've not played with it so much, and partly it's just newer in my collection. I've had the Marielle for years, but I'm also enjoying getting in the guidebook of this one, and I want to do a bit of a deck study with the Tantric Dakini because there's a lot of stuff in the guidebook I just haven't looked at, but for the time being I'm liking these two together and just seeing what comes up. I think I am committed to trimming the Tantric Dakini though. I was unsure whether I was going to reback it or just trim it because I want to make it a bit sturdier, and I think if I trim it and it's a smaller size, it will feel relatively more sturdy. And also it's just like a little bit too tall to be comfortable, and I really don't want it to be too big because I'm more likely to damage it, I think. It's just so good. Okay, not going to leave the tower on top, not going to leave judgment on top. The star! We can leave the star on top, that's acceptable. Hello, darling. Why are we shouting? Yeah? Uh-huh. I'm being screamed at by a cat, and I think it's because the sun has moved and is no longer in the patch of floor she was sitting on, which is obviously my fault. Okay, I have another pair that I want to show you because it has just been like such a go-to for me. This is the Lilifer Tarot and the Sea Soul Journeys Oracle cards, which is truly just a go-to deck for me. I just love it. They're both very easy to grab and easy to read with, and if I don't know what deck to use, I wouldn't go wrong with choosing one of these. I really like these. And the art styles don't strictly match, but they also don't not. Like, obviously there's a lot of blue in the Sea Soul, and then there's a lot of blue in the Lilifer as well, and it doesn't not work. And more importantly, the messages do work. I really enjoy I would say that as the Tower card comes up, I was going to say I really enjoy the spaciousness of the Lilifer Tarot because every card has these white backgrounds, and then of course I turn to the Tower, which is painted in, but everything else has a lot of white space in the background, which is very spacious. And then the sea always feels very spacious to me because it's big and there's a lot of sea and there's a lot of sky. There's a lot of space. I've said spacious too many times. I also really want the spacious tarot, but that is beside the point. So these just work well in a reading, and I really enjoy them. And they've just been a very easy go-to if I don't really know what to read with and I want to read with the tarot and an oracle and nothing else is calling to me, or I don't want to make a decision. This is a bit of a no-brainer pairing. So that is the Lilifer and the Sea Soul Journeys Oracle. The sun has moved round, and so I'm like in the way, but I think it is playing havoc with my white balance and things, so apologies if that's the case. I have a couple more decks to show you that I've just been really in love with lately. So the first is the Heart and Hands Tarot, which I bought on a complete whim, having never seen it before. I ordered it in, I think, December of last year, and I have a walkthrough. Then I didn't touch it for a while, and then fairly recently I've picked it back up again, done some actual readings with it. I love this deck. I really, really enjoy this. I really like how it reads, and I appreciate from a very personal standpoint that this is a black and white deck that I can actually read, practically speaking. I've said this before, some black and white decks just are hard for me to visually process what's in front of me and like see what I'm looking at. I don't have that issue with this deck, which I really appreciate because I love the black and white aesthetic. I love just the simplicity of it and the high contrast. It's nice that this one really works. I also love the really like gothy, punky kind of swords court. I think they're fantastic. The Page of Swords was sitting, yeah, Princess of Swords was sitting on top of the deck with her boots. Like, it's just fabulous. This is such a cool deck. I've really liked the readings. It's been really, really on the money with readings that I've done for myself with this. And I'm just really glad that I bought it, which, you know, doesn't always pan out when it's an impulse buy. See the Tower of Tales, which I'm contemplating whether to keep or not, and that was an impulse buy, but this was a good decision. And I've been liking using it recently in the last like couple of months or so. I picked it up a fair few times. So that is the Heart and Hands Tarot. Okay, the Spring Weight. This is my grab and go deck of late for like taking out and about with me. It's stuck in its bag. Cause look, come on, it's obvious. It's obvious why. It's spring, it's shiny, it's pretty. It is a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, it's easy to read. This has been my like take out and about with me deck. I feel like I've spoken about this a lot recently actually, so I won't go on about the deck itself again. It's cute, it's seasonally appropriate. It was in my spring collection of decks. And yeah, if you've seen my Everyday Carry Tarot VR to Malena Teresa, this is what would, I don't think I mentioned that in that video maybe, but this is my current everyday carry because I can read it. It's a Rider-Waite-Smith. It's pretty, it's seasonal, it's fun. I like looking at it. It's not threatening or scary like the Devil. Where was the Devil? The Devil's just a big bee. Like that is not a super scary Devil card. Maybe if you're scared of bees. The Five of Pentacles is definitely not the scariest Five of Pentacles I've ever seen. There's rainbows and butterflies everywhere. Like it's not very threatening. If I end up like reading for a friend or something when we're out and about, it's not very threatening, it's not very scary. It's also not full of naked people, which, you know, it's like safe for work. And while I'm happy to have my decks full of naked people, they're typically not the ones I take out and about with me because I don't want like small children to run up and start asking questions about my cards and then have to have an awkward conversation with a parent. So yeah, this is my like go-to at the moment. And I said I wouldn't talk too much about it, so we will leave it there with this fabulous Queen of Wands. Oh, the sparkles in the sun though. Like, come on. This was made for reading outdoors in a sunshiny pub garden, which I haven't done yet. I haven't had my first pub garden pint of the year out in like the spring sunshine. So I will have to do that and I will have to bring this deck with me. This is the Fairies. No, it's not. That's the Tantric Dakini again. I need to decorate these bags. This is the Fairies Oracle by Brian Froud. And I think I've mentioned this already, but I finally started picking this up. I've just been pulling a card a week and reading the guidebook, and then I sit the card on my desk where I can see it and I just like ponder it, ponder the energy, think about what's written in the guidebook, maybe revisit it, just getting to know it slowly. And I've been having a really good time. The artwork is undeniably beautiful. This deck has a lot of its own energy. Oh, there's the Oracles with Attitude tag that is going around that Tegan started and mentioned this deck. And should I do a response to that VR? Should I do a VR to that tag? This deck is definitely going to be in there because it has attitude. It has many attitudes within the deck and I'm really enjoying it. So this one has been in rotation, in like background, in ambient rotation. I'm just making shit up at this point, but I'm liking it. So that is the Fairies Oracle. And then I've saved the most exciting deck till last. It's the Game Marseille by Charlie Claire Burgess, who, as we've established, I am a massive fan of. This was a Kickstarter that I backed at some point last year. It came in last week, I think, maybe the week before, and I'm just absolutely in love with it. It has really encouraged me to get back on my Marseille study, and I'm just so obsessed with this deck. Like I keep just pulling cards and looking at all the little details, and it's just absolutely fantastic. Like this Six of Cups with the little like cocktail umbrellas and straws and things, like the details in the minors are incredible. I think it's going to make it it's going to feel so much easier to learn Marseille. The courts are amazing. Charlie really practices what they preach with the unbinarying the tarot, removing the traditional associations of sex and gender from the court cards and showing a lot of like visibly trans, non-binary, gender, non-conforming characters, like a lot of visible queerness. Here we have Pope Joan for the Pope, with the Pope Joan tattoos on the fingers, and oh, it's just incredible. I love it so much. So I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with the game Marseille. I don't know how to read Marseille fluently at this point in my life, but I'm learning, and this has really given me a whole lot of like additional encouragement. And it's just so fun. And like, come on, this King of Wands is, oh, it's such a beautiful deck. And all the different pride flags and the Ten of Cups, I love it so much. It's a joyously queer deck, and I cannot wait to like really get to grips with the Marseille. And I also ordered the book, or pledged for the full-size guidebook. It comes with a little card with some like cheat sheet meanings on it, but I also got the guidebook, which I'm really enjoying because it's their style of writing, obviously, because they wrote it, and the Marseille feels much more accessible to me with this deck in, and because I'm so obsessed with this deck, I just want to read Marseille. I am in love with this star card, and I can't even tell you, there's no specific reason why. I just think this is my favorite star card I've ever had in a deck. It's so beautiful. And so I'm gonna leave it there with that beautiful star card on top. And the backs are so fun. It's just, I'm in love. I'm in love with this deck. And it's got me so excited to really get into my Marseille study, which is nice. It's really nice when a deck comes along that I'm so enthusiastic about that it like spurs a whole renewed excitement for learning. Because with the Rider-Waite-Smith, I feel like not that I've learned it and that I know all I need to know, because that's not possible, I don't think, but I know enough of the Rider-Waite-Smith that I could read pretty much any deck out of the box, and some of them are a little bit weird and wonderful, but I can probably make sense of any Rider-Waite-Smith based deck from the off. Whereas the Marseille, obviously, I'm very much still learning and studying, because I have to because otherwise I can't really read it. So it's just fun. It's just very good and very fun. That is everything, I promise. There's a cat yelling, the sun blinding me, and I've been talking for a very long time, so I will leave it there. I will say thank you very much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed. Let me know what you have been up to. Give me a little life update. It's been a long time since I've done this, and I'm glad that I did, because it was nice to just sit and chat, as though that isn't literally every single one of my videos, but I hope you know what I mean. I'm gonna let you go. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Give me a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.